Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is NASA's thread. So today on the channel, I'll be showing you how I made this crop to bustier top. So if it's something you're interested in, keep watching, give this video a thumbs up, and let's get into this. So we'll be drafting on our paper. I just went ahead to draw a line to serve as my starting point, and I'm marking the center front of my paper. So from that end, the center front end, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder and then my neck width. Then from the shoulder point, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant and connect that into the neck width. Alright, so from that end, I'm going to mark my armhole length, which is 7 inches. So to get yours, go ahead and divide your round bust by 6 inches and then add 1.5 inch to whatever you get. And then at that point, I'm just making a vertical and horizontal line at that point. Okay, so we want to go on and mark our other vertical measurements. The next being the bust point. For me, my bust point is 10 inches, my under bust point 13, and then the length we're working with. So I'll be going on later to add extra inches to mine in order to extend my length. Okay, so I'll just roll lines at the marks I made earlier to indicate those points. Alright, so on the armhole length, I will take half of what I have there, mark it, and then go in at that point by half of an inch, also make a point. Then on the first line which I drew, which is the chest line, I'm going to mark quarter of my round bust there, and then go in with my curve rule and make my connections. Alright, so I'll just go ahead to label this for easy access for all to know what they are. So we have our chest line, the bust point, the under bust point, and then the waist, which is the full length. Right, so this is what we have. Okay, now from the center front, I'll go ahead and mark my bust pan. So the bust pan is the distance from one nipple to the other. Mine is 7. I divided that by 2, and then I marked it down on the waist, the under bust, and then on the bust point, and I'm just connecting them together in a straight line. Then on the shoulder line, I'm going to divide what I have there by 2. I'll mark it down also. Okay, and then use my rule and connect it into the line I drew earlier. That's at the bust area. Okay, so on the leg of our dart, I'll be going in and out by 1 inch on the waist, and also do the same thing on the under bust. Now if you're on a bigger bust part, you can use 2.5 inches on both sides, like share that into 2. So I just connected my lines together. Then on the bust point, I'll be going down by half of an inch. So I'll be going down and up on that point by half of an inch. This is in order for us not to have any pointy ends around the bust area. Okay, so I'm going with my curve rule to connect this into the point I made at the under bust. So just watch what I'm doing. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, the next thing we want to do is take the difference between the bust point and the under bust, and then place it from the bust point upwards and mark it down. Okay, so you take the difference you have from your bust point to your under bust. Mine was 3 inches, and you place it from the the bust point, sorry, upwards, and then mark it and make a line. Then on that line, you mark the same dart intake you took on the waist area. So remember, I used 2 inches, so 1 inch for both sides. I just went ahead to mark it, and then I'll connect it to the half of an inch I went up earlier from my bust point. Alright, so just go into blend that area together. Okay, so the next one to just do is the neckline. I'll just use my curve rule to just mark this downward. So you can decide to extend your small to have a deeper neck, and then for the arm circumference area, I'll just do the same thing. Connect this other end into the arm area I marked earlier. Okay, so go ahead and put in our horizontal measurement. So divide your round waist by 4, mark that down. Okay, take the measurement you used for your dart intake, add that back into it. All right, and then add your seam allowance. So I'm working with a seam allowance of 1.5 inch. I just went ahead to mark that down. Repeat the same process around the bust area. Okay, take quarter of your bust measurement, mark it down, then take the dart intake you took earlier, mark it down, and also your inseam allowance. Like I said, I'm using 1.5 inches for mine, so you can also use 1.5. And I just went in with my rule to connect the points I have made together. So just watch closely how I'm cutting this, so you don't make mistakes while you're cutting yours. All right, so just watch how I'm cutting this. All right, so this is what we have for our front piece. You can see how this looks like. So when you're cutting this out on your fabric, this one, this first one should be cut on fold, because that is like the center part of it, and the other part you should have two pieces of it. Okay, and don't forget to add 1/2 inch on both sides. That's the area where you're going to stitch them together. Okay, so for the back, I've gone ahead to mark out my zip allowance on another piece of paper. Then I'm placing the front parts on top of it, starting with the center front of my front piece. Okay, so I'm just going to use my paper tape to place that down so that it sits properly, and then I'll bring in the other one. Okay, so this is actually an easier way for us to get this. Okay, to get our back, you can go on and draft the way we did for the front piece, but I think this would be a quicker and easier process to follow through. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just simply matching my darts together. All right, it is needed for you to do this, so I'm going to just tape the parts, the down part of this together, tape them down to my back paper so that it's not moving about and I can get accurate measurements. Then I'll place the other one matching the darts I have on it together, and then I will also tape it down. Okay, so just watch what I'm doing. So this is what I have. All right, so I'll just rule the down part of it, that's the length I'm working with. I'll also rule the side parts of this, make my mark at that end. Okay, so I'm going to just indicate the points I have, my bust points, my under bust points. I'm just indicating them on my back paper so I can take this other piece out. All right, so these are the points I have. I will just join them together with a Okay, so for the neckline for the back, initially I wanted it to be straight so you can make a straight one, but I went ahead to use my curve rule to just curve that end a little bit downwards. Okay, so you didn't get to exactly how the front stopped, so that's just what I did. Then for my dart, I will take my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 7 inches divided by 2, that's 3.5. I'm going to mark that down on the lines I have there from the waist down to the top part, and then I'll connect them together with a straight line. Okay, after which on my dart leg I'll go in and out by 1/2 inch. Okay, so I just marked 1/2 inch on that end, and I'll connect this to the top part of my dart. So I'm just connecting it to the top part of my dart. So just watch closely if you don't know how to do this, so you are not lost. Okay, all right, so this is what we have. Now for the back, since we traced this out, we are going to take the measurement to ensure we have what we need here exactly. So quarter of my waist is actually 7.5. Remember, the dart I'm using for this is 1 inch, and then I'm using the seam allowance of 1.5 inch. Okay, so I just went ahead to do that. So at the top part, I just ensured and I checked I had exactly what I need. So from the waist, because of the dart we took for that end, I will just extend it and then make a slanted line to meet the top part. So just watch what I did here so you're not confused. Okay, so you can see this is what we have. So this is the little adjustment we have at the back. I will just go on to cut this out. So we're going to be slanting our darts, taking that out. You can also decide to leave it and then just stitch it that way, but I didn't want that. So this is what we have for the back piece. Okay, so for the back we need to have 2 pieces of each of them, and then remember to add half of an inch on the end. So go on and cut this on the fabric. So I've cut this on my fabric. This is the allowance I added for this. So what I did was that I added half of an inch at the top, half of an inch by the side. Okay, the point I wanted to add my half of an inch allowance. I also made notches at that point, and then I made the extension I wanted. Remember I said earlier I'm going to add extra length to mine. Okay, so I just added 2 inches to mine extra. All right, so this is the back piece. So just go ahead and make notches at the points where you're stitching together so you're not confused, and also indicate your zip allowance. Okay, so for the front I did the same thing. I added half of an inch at the top, half of an inch at the side, and then 2 inches at the down part to extend my length. Okay, that's simply what I did. Now what I did for my fabric was to iron stay to my main fabric, and then the soft gum stay to my lining piece. Okay, so that's just what I did. That's what the white thing you can see on this. Okay, that's to give it more weight. All right, so what I want to do is to cut out my wording for this. So I'm working with a soft wording actually. So if you're using if you have a hard one, you can also use that. So what I will do is just to place this on top of it. So ensure you don't place yours the way I placed mine, okay? Because after cutting this out, I realized I actually cut this out and wasted some piece. So what you want to do is to cut your wording to get to your under bust. Okay, that is where it needs to end. It doesn't need to get to your full length, it needs to get to your under bust point. So just watch what I'm doing. I'm just going to cut this out in order to end at my under bust. So ensure you mark your under bust line so that you're not confused. So this is what I have. Then I'm taking out half of an inch at the top because I will be stitching that end. So when I place it on top of my piece, this is how it's meant to look. So this is how yours is meant to look. Okay, so for the other side wording, what we need for the side wording, I'll be using my pattern paper to cut on it. Okay, so what I'll do is just place this down. So the length you need for this is also your under bust length. Okay, so don't get confused, it should not be more than that. So I'm just going to extend mine to 3 inches. That's just what I used. So you are cutting this, you should cut it something like this. This is how it should come out after you cut it. Okay, so I'm just going to place this down on my wording and then trace it out with my scissors. Okay, so this is what we have. So remember we need 2 pieces of this, so I'll just open this up for us to get a better view. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So what we want to do is to go over to the ironing table and then iron it down to this part. You can see how this looks like. Okay, and then do the same thing to the other one. So don't forget to remove half of an inch at the top of your wording so that you can have your stitching allowance. Okay, it doesn't disrupt you while you're stitching this down. So I've done that. I've ironed this to it. Okay, this is how it looks like. Okay, and this is also the other part of my front, and I've also ironed my wording to it. This is what it looks like. So to stitch this down, what we're going to do is to place this front facing front, ensuring that aligning. Okay, so you want to make sure that from your under bust area it is meeting properly. So I'm just going to go in with my pins and then pin this all through. Like I said, ensure the under bust point is meeting accurately. Okay, that is like the most important part, because if that part meets, it means the top part of it, the top area is the important area it is going to meet. You don't want the parts that should be on the bust should be on the that it should be on the other side. Okay, so I'm just pinning this through so that I will show you what it will look like after we stitch it down. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, you can see how mine looks like. The bust area is on the bust area. Okay, this is how yours should look like, so you don't get confused, or so that you're not lost or frustrated with this. So go ahead and stitch it down by half of an inch. Remember the allowance we added. So I've done that. This is what I have on my boat piece. Okay, this is what it looks like. So what I'll do next is to flip this over to the front. Are you seeing how this is standing? So I'll just make notches on this because I want to iron it down. I'm just going to make notches on this so that it's easier for me to iron while I press this down with an iron. Okay, so I have this homemade bust ham that I'm using to iron this. So I'll just place this on top of it this way, open up my seam, and then iron it down. Okay, so that's just what I want to do, to iron this down properly. So I've done that. This is what it looks like. You can see how this looks like, and then at the front area, this is how it looks. So you want to iron the inside and the outside part. Okay, so ensure it doesn't press down after you finish. It should be this way, looking all nice and clean. All right, so I went ahead to do the same thing for my lining piece. That's simply because, like I said earlier, I'm working with a soft wadding. So if you're using a hard one, you can decide not to double it. So I'm using a soft one. I decided to do also do the same thing on my lining piece because I want to be able to wear this without a bra. Okay, so for the back piece, okay, I've gone ahead to join it together. Remember, we don't have much things for the back, so I just joined it together and then ironed my seams open like I did for the front, and I did the same thing for my lining piece of the back. Okay, so what we want to do is to join this together. Okay, so I'll take the measurement I have around this. Remember, the allowance we added earlier was 1.5 inches. We've actually not done this over with lining, so we still have a 1.5 inch of seam allowance. So what I'm doing is simply just taking the measurement, ensuring I still have my allowance, okay, and then marking it down so I can attach my back to this. Right, so I've marked it down. I'll flip it over to the right side, and then bring in my back piece and place it down. So remember I said earlier to indicate your zip allowance, because the back is just all straight. There's not much happening at the back, so that you're not confused. Okay, so I'm pinning this down. I'm going to place this together and then stitch the both of them together. So I've stitched it. This is what it looks like. I did the same thing also to my lining piece, and then I ironed open my seam allowances. It is important for you to iron them. So what I'm going to do is to stitch this from the neck. Okay, I've already done that. So I went ahead to do that. I'm sorry, that part of the video was fast. I've gone ahead to do that. I actually stitched around the neck. I stitched the sides, that's the zip allowance areas, and then I stitched it down, leaving a little space where I can turn this over. So what I'm just doing is just making notches at the top so that when I iron this is going to relax. So this is the space I left open for turning this over to the front side. So I'm just turning this. Right, so this is what we have after I did that. Okay, so what we want to do around the open area you have left is to, before you do that, you have to press this down properly and then go ahead and stitch the area you left open to turn this. Okay, you can also use a hemming comb if you decide to, or you can just stitch it to give it a permanent stay. So I've done that. I've stitched it down, I've ironed everywhere. You can see how this looks like, and then I went ahead to fix my zip to my top. So you can decide to wear this like this. You can decide to just, this is a two bustier, so you can decide to wear this like this, but I wanted to be able to wear this outside, like outside. So I decided to make little sleeves for it. I'm sorry, this part of the video will be very fast. So I just cut out a piece of fabric that's about 5 inches long. I cut out two pieces of that, 5 inches of width, sorry, and then 17 inches long. But this other one I have here is actually longer than what I have initially, and the width is also, the width is 10 inches. So I have two pieces of each of them. So what I will do is just to hem this part of this, okay, hem the sides, all right, and then hem the other side, then run a loose stitch on the other end. Okay, so I've done that. This is what it looks like after I did that. So this is the bigger part of my piece, and then I'll just get my center, just folded this in, made a notch at the center. Okay, and then I brought in the other piece, the smaller piece I made, also made a notch, and I'm going to join them together, like pin them together, and then extend my ruffles in order to enter that space, leaving at least half of an inch on the smaller piece. Okay, so just watch what I'm doing. So for the small piece, to get your small piece, you can just measure the remaining part. Since this is an off shoulder, you just measure the remaining part of that to the from the front to the back, and then use that as your length. Just decide to add a little inch extra so that you're not shortened. So it should be more, it should not be less. Okay, so I just adjusted this inside. That is simply what I did. Okay, hopefully you don't get confused by this. Okay, so like I said earlier, you can decide to just wear the tube like that without the sleeve, but I decided to add mine. Okay, so I just did it like this, and then I'll go ahead, pin them down, and then run a stitch on top of it. So I've done that. This is what it looks like. This is what we have. So I'm just going to flip this over. We're simply just making something like if you're making a ruffle skirt, that's just simply what we're doing, but this time around making it a sleeve. So I've done that. What I'll do is to attach this to my top. So I'll be placing this on my dart ends, like the top part of my dart. That is where I'm going to place, that's where I want it to sit. So after doing that, I'll just place them there inside of it, and then I will run my stitches around it. So if you're here at the end of the video and you're yet to subscribe to the channel, you've been seeing this channel, watching videos, and you've not subscribed to the channel yet, please do well to subscribe. Let me know in the comment section what you think about having a two bustier. I think it's a very nice top. You can decide to make yours longer. You can decide to add a little rigs and add a little touch of yourself to it. Okay, because that's simply why I wanted it to be wanted to add a ruffle sleeve. So you can decide to do what you want. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel again if you've not subscribed, and give this video a thumbs up if you're yet to do that. So what I'll do is just go ahead, which is the last thing for this video, I will just stitch it down there, attach it to it. So you can decide to have a fall for the sleeve, for it not to be so tight, sorry about that, or for it to be loosed. It depends on you, either tight or loose. It simply depends on you. Okay, so this is what it looks like I said, I added my sleeve so I can wear it out, and I wore it to church. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.